Sources told the Post that Jones sent a message to one of the betting ring members on February 9, 2023, urging him to place a large bet on the Lakers' opponent, the Milwaukee Bucks, because James would be out with an injury.
But we begin with a story that has dominated the headlines. The FBI announced on Thursday that two major operations, one involving the sharing of insider information for betting on NBA games, and the other centering on rigged poker games using high-tech cheating devices, have led to the arrest of more than 30 suspects. Some involved.
The operation now dominating headlines has a name: Operation Nothing But Bet. What started as a small inquiry into insider wagering within the league has become one of the most shocking stories to ever reach the NBA's top tier. For months, agents have been tracing money, messages, and medical leaks, all circling back to one man who has long been seen as untouchable.
Individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this.
The first domino fell when LeBron's longtime friend and former teammate Damon Jones was indicted. According to court filings unsealed this spring, Jones was caught selling injury information ahead of key Lakers matchups, including the February 9, 2023 game against the Milwaukee Bucks and another against the Oklahoma City Thunder in January 2024. In one text message cited by prosecutors, Jones told a contact to get a big bet on Milwaukee tonight before the information is out. Hours later, LeBron sat out that very game with an ankle issue and the Bucks cruised to victory. It sounded like an open and shut case against Jones until the scope widened and federal agents began knocking on LeBron's own doors. Sources familiar with the operation say the FBI didn't stop at questioning Jones. They expanded their reach into LeBron's inner circle, reportedly seizing communication devices, computers, and financial records from his LA mansion and his Ohio estate. The warrants, according to insiders, included language suggesting they were searching for links between Jones' gambling ring and a prominent player's financial network. That player, of course, was LeBron James. Officials have not yet filed charges against him, but the decision to seize documents has fielded speculation that he is more than just a witness.
The first indictment involves 6 defendants. This scheme is an insider sports betting conspiracy that exploited confidential information about National Basketball Association athletes and teams.
The first indictment involves 6 defendants. This scheme is an insider sports betting conspiracy that exploited confidential information about National Basketball Association athletes and teams. The FBI's official line remains that LeBron is cooperating, but insiders close to the investigation are telling a different story. They claim agents are scrutinizing encrypted messages and offshore transfers connected to people who once traveled with LeBron's entourage. One source told reporters that James' name appears multiple times in internal memos, though the full context remains sealed. The rumor spreading among league executives is that LeBron could be listed as one of the key defendants in a forthcoming update to the federal filings. We've learned that Jones' behavior in the months before his arrest painted a troubling picture. Witnesses at the ARA resort in Las Vegas described seeing him live as though money was no concern. He reportedly spent long nights in the casino's high-limit room, smoking $200 cigars and name-dropping LeBron to anyone who would listen. Professional gambler Michael Osborne told investigators that Jones used LeBron's name as a business card, bragging that he could get access to team trainers and early injury information. Jones allegedly mixed that charm with desperation, asking other gamblers for quick loans so he could keep playing at the tables.
We do have more breaking news this morning. 2 big names in the NBA among more than 30 people arrested in connection with federal investigation into sports betting and illegal gambling.
Behind those stories lies the contradiction driving the investigation. The NBA insists LeBron had no knowledge of Jones' betting activity. League sources told outlets like The Athletic that James was unaware of any misconduct and that his relationship with Jones was personal, not professional. But as the FBI broadened its search, something changed. Federal records show that agents were no longer focused solely on Jones' tip-offs. They were now examining the communication between the two men. That's when, according to one agent familiar with the case, a new name surfaced on the warrant: LeBron James. The question gripping both fans and analysts is simple. Why would federal agents seize files from LeBron's properties if he were only a witness? The warrants reportedly mention coordination of privileged information, a phrase that prosecutors usually reserve for conspirators, not spectator. While no evidence of wagering directly by LeBron has been presented, insiders argue that his proximity to Jones, coupled with the timing of certain withdrawals and private flights, has raised suspicion within federal circles. Meanwhile, the timeline itself keeps tightening. The February 9, 2023 Bucks game wasn't just another night. It came 2 days after LeBron broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record. He sat out immediately after the celebration, citing soreness. According to court papers, that was the exact game Jones used as leverage for his illegal betting tip. When the FBI linked Jones' message to that date, it gave the appearance of coordination, intentional or not. Then, a year later, in January 2024, Jones allegedly sold another piece of insider news before the Thunder game, pocketing $2,500 through a mobile payment. In both instances, his connection to LeBron was his calling card.
Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra, to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Luce.
We can't ignore that this story comes at a time when the NBA is battling a wider integrity crisis. Federal investigators have already charged multiple league figures, including Portland coach Channy Billups and Miami's Terry Rozier, under the same operation. But the public focus has turned entirely to LeBron. When footage emerged of FBI vehicles outside his Brentwood mansion, speculation exploded online. Some commentators insisted it was a misunderstanding tied to Jones' dealings. Others, including a handful of sports attorneys, suggested that the FBI doesn't raid the home of a witness unless they suspect deeper involvement. In the days following the raids, LeBron's legal team remained silent, issuing only a brief statement through a representative saying they were fully cooperating. That phrase in legal circles often signals an ongoing negotiation, not an exoneration. A source close to the situation told us that agents removed multiple devices, including encrypted tablets believed to belong to team associates. The contents of those devices have not been disclosed, but leaks suggest they may include scheduling notes and travel logs dating back to late 2022, the period when Jones first began shadowing the Lakers. From there, the story shifts into territory that blurs the line between rumor and revelation. Several insiders claimed that the gambling investigation was only the first layer. Behind closed doors, prosecutors reportedly began comparing communication patterns between Jones and a second circle of entertainment figures. Among them, names already familiar from another federal case. That is what led investigators to revisit LeBron's wider network, including friends and collaborators outside basketball. Interestingly, we haven't seen the indictments yet. There's been some time lag. I suppose it will take some time to go through all the forensic, evidence.
Interestingly, we haven't seen the indictments yet. There's been some time lag. I suppose it will take some time to go through all the forensic, evidence.
When asked why agents would revisit those links, one legal analyst pointed out that Operation Nothing But Bet involves not only wagering, but potential money laundering across multiple industries. The overlap between sports and entertainment money, sponsorships, foundations, event promotions provides ample room for questionable transfers. If any of those accounts intersected with Jones or his associates, the implications could be severe. Publicly, LeBron has tried to maintain his normal image. Just weeks before the raids, he was seen courtside in LA wearing a bright floral cardigan and cheering his team. But behind the scenes, those close to him describe a man under immense pressure. He has reportedly canceled media appearances and limited travel. League sources say the Lakers organization is waiting for clarity before making any formal comment. For now, they can only watch as one of the sport's biggest icons becomes the center of a federal storm.
Same kind of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, "You don't do a freak off, I'm going to release one of the freak off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate."
Same kind of extortion that you heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France did. He said, "You don't do a freak off. I'm going to release one of the freak off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate." And as the world demands answers about betting, money trails, and hidden messages, investigators have already turned towards something even more dangerous. LeBron's private connections to one man already serving time for organizing notorious freak-off gatherings. That's where the investigation and everything tied to it takes a darker turn. And that's where the story continues. That he has,
with others, and just because no one else has been charged, which normally in a RICO case you would have others charged, it was a statute that designed to get mob bosses, trying to get at criminal behavior that's like a web of criminal behavior that you can't necessarily prove, like the one thing or the statute of limitations expired on the other thing, but you're just showing this bad guy who's operating what's clearly an enterprise that over and over engages in criminal problems or criminal acts.
when the FBI begins searching LeBron's properties, the raids weren't only about gambling. Agents were reportedly tracing his social connections, and the trail led straight to Sean Diddy Combs. What seemed like a routine follow-up on betting records suddenly crossed into the world of entertainment finance, celebrity events, and private guest lists. Diddy, who was recently sentenced to more than 4 years in prison after being convicted on charges related to illicit activities and transportation for immoral purposes, had his own empire collapsing in full view. And now, one of the most famous names in sports had quietly entered that same orbit. Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party. So, yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
Almost overnight, an old video began circulating again. The clip where LeBron laughs beside Diddy on an Instagram Live and says, "Ain't no party like a Diddy party." It was harmless banter at the time, but in the new context, it turned into evidence in the court of public opinion. Viewers slowed the footage, dissected expressions, and asked whether that line hinted at deeper familiarity with Diddy's world. LeBron has not been accused of any intimate or criminal behavior. Yet, insiders claim his name surfaced in conversations about who attended the rapper's now infamous freak-off gatherings. Those private events once whispered about as extravagant entertainment are now at the center of federal testimony describing manipulation and exploitation inside Diddy's network. So
maybe the judge is going to give him more than time served.
But we should say that the maximum he could get is 20 years.
And that's what I want to get into for a minute, because this is some racist you-know-what. This man.
LeBron's legal team refuses to comment. The Lakers declined every request for clarification. That silence, instead of cooling the fire, only fuels it, because in the same week agents seized material from LeBron's homes. Prosecutors announced that they were expanding Operation Nothing But Bet, merging financial records from entertainment accounts linked to Diddy's business web. The phrase cross-referenced ledgers appears in the internal notice, hinting that investigators believe some of the same intermediaries may have handled payments for both Jones' betting activity and Diddy's entertainment projects. That's when officials realized that the money and the guest lists might overlap. Behind the scenes, publicists are scrambling. Sponsorship departments are quietly reviewing clauses. Insiders tell us that at least 2 major brands have paused upcoming campaigns featuring LeBron's likeness until federal clarity is reached. Within NBA circles, the question has shifted. No longer whether LeBron knew about Jones' betting, but whether he was aware of Diddy's parties and what really happened there. Even a whiff of association with that scandal is enough to send executives into panic mode.
That I've talked for a while, a lot of people are buzzing that Diddy's former BFFs are real quiet.
And they have been.
And people were wondering why and who's the next to fall. And then Jay-Z comes out, and then LeBron James says, "I'm stepping away for excused personal reasons." And people are going, oh, what is going?
At the same time, new whispers have emerged from people once connected to Diddy's social circle. One former event promoter alleges that LeBron's name appeared on internal guest coordination messages from as far back as 2018, though those communications have not been made public. Another source claims that the FBI, while analyzing seized phones from Diddy's security staff, found contact logs referencing high-profile athletes. None of these claims have been confirmed, but they've become fuel for online investigators who now treat social media archives like evidence boards. Adding to the intrigue, several messages, reportedly recovered from devices taken during the raid at LeBron's mansion, are being reviewed for their links to a series of private events hosted in Los Angeles and Miami. Those familiar with the material say it includes encrypted correspondence with names later tied to Diddy's management team. Whether these were friendly exchanges, sponsorship talks, or something more sensitive remains unclear. But in the atmosphere of suspicion surrounding Operation Nothing But Bet, even ambiguity sounds incriminate.
applaud them when they win. I criticize them when they're messing up in an effort to make sure that you don't do it again. I'm not wishing anybody to fail, but I have to call it how I see it because I have an audience to answer to. These players, I don't get paid to talk.
Friends describe LeBron as obsessively loyal, a man who never abandons those who stood by him during his early grind in Akron. Over the years, that loyalty built a tight inner circle that moved with him from Cleveland to Miami to Los Angeles, carrying old favors, shared investments, and deep personal trust. But investigators now suggest that same loyalty could be his greatest vulnerability. Several people once close to the Lakers' locker room recall how LeBron's insistence on keeping familiar faces around occasionally clashed with team protocols. His friends, some with no formal positions, often lingered at practices or traveled with the team, access that quietly blurred the line between personal and professional life. Let's talk about LeBron James, the Lakers' head coach saying he is out for personal reasons. It's an excused absence. However, social media trying to connect it to a resurfaced clip where James joined Diddy Combs on a live stream and said, quote, "Hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party."
Let's talk about LeBron James, the Lakers head coach, saying he is out for personal reasons. It's an excused absence. However, social media trying to connect it to a resurfaced clip where James joined Diddy Combs on a live stream and said, quote, "Hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party." I think that went viral. I remember.
As close to former Lakers staffers say those blurred boundaries became a pattern. Whenever management questioned who was allowed into restricted areas, the answer was usually the same. If LeBron wanted them there, they stayed. It was part of his persona, the self-made athlete who never forgot where he came from. But as Operation Nothing But Bet continues to unfold, federal analysts are dissecting that very dynamic. They're studying whether his unwavering trust in old friends like Damon Jones or entertainment contacts from previous seasons created hidden pathways for confidential information to move outside team walls. Former teammates suggest LeBron ignored quiet warnings over the years about some of the company he kept. A few recall subtle reminders from coaches and security officers advising him to distance himself from individuals whose financial habits drew attention. Those cautions, according to insiders, were politely received but rarely followed. For LeBron, loyalty wasn't optional. It was a principle. He built his empire on the idea of trust. And that conviction may have left him blind to the opportunists who saw his generosity as a door to personal profit.
Now for some of the biggest trending stories you'll want to know today, sports legend. People call him the GOAT, LeBron James, taking an excused absence from the basketball season. This, as resurfaced video, is being examined.
Behavior note that figures with intense public pressure often develop closed networks where outside criticism is filtered and opposing opinions are softened. In that environment, trust becomes currency and betrayal feels unthinkable until it happens. The FBI's focus on communication logs between LeBron and long-term associates hints at how fragile that inner structure might have become under scrutiny. As the probe digs deeper, those close to the investigation believe loyalty may be the thread connecting the betting ring, the entertainment accounts, and even the social introductions that pulled him closer to Diddy's world. To them, it isn't about greed or corruption. It's about a man whose sense of duty to his circle prevented him from drawing hard boundaries. That human flaw magnified by fame might explain why agents are now sorting through the personal files of one of the most disciplined athletes alive. In the story of LeBron James, loyalty isn't just a virtue. It's the code that opened the gates to his private kingdom, and possibly to his undoing.
Great father, great husband, great philanthropist, great businessman, great director, great producer, great host, great basketball player, great leader. I mean, my God, I have done everything but put diapers and a bib on this brother. But it ain't enough, because one thing matters to him and one thing only, and that's him being recognized as the greatest of all times. Well, you're not in my
book. We can see how the narrative has shifted from sports to secrecy. For decades, LeBron James has stood as a symbol of discipline, the athlete who never slipped, never stumbled, never strayed from control. Now that image is under siege. Analysts point to his recent decision to withdraw from several high-profile charity appearances as a sign of tightening internal damage control. One Los Angeles public relations executive told us, when a brand as spotless as LeBron's go silent, it's because lawyers have taken the microphone. Meanwhile, conspiracy theories continue to multiply. Some claim that Operation Nothing But Bet and Diddy's prosecution may intersect through hidden financial networks, shell foundations, promotional companies, even luxury events billed as fundraisers. Investigators haven't confirmed those overlaps, but every unsealed document adds new material for speculation. Social media users compare flight logs, archive photos, and timelines, noting when LeBron appeared in the same cities where Diddy's events were later linked to alleged wrongdoing. Even the coincidence of travel dates has become digital currency in this ongoing trial by rumor. Through